If conversation started, I think something that is really very important, and I know that kind of you look at polls and numbers and those types of things too. So I want to kick it off to you, and we're going to talk about the economy a little bit and the numbers and things that are coming out around that.
Yeah, this morning we got the jobs report, which we weren't sure what this jobs report was going to look like because they hired this new person, and anytime Trump hires someone, you just kind of never know which way it's going to go. But
Exactly.
so we knew yesterday when the report, like the ADP report came out, that, and I think Wednesday too, that there was more people that were unemployed than jobs available. So we knew that was, I think it was Wednesday that came out, and we knew yesterday some other economic numbers. But then today we were like, okay, are they going to say that there's 500,000 jobs that were created, or are they going to tell the truth? And it looks like they actually told the truth. So good job by the Labor Department. We only added 22,000 jobs this month, in August, and then you also had where the numbers for July and June were downgraded. So it was even worse. So Trump fired this person thinking that the numbers were wrong, but realistically, the numbers are actually worse than what was actually presented to us. So you can't even really make this up at this point in terms of kind of where we are. I don't think I need this. Kind of where we are. It's just insane.
It really is. I think for the first time in a while in these 8 months, I'm feeling the exhaustion, I'm sure that most people have been feeling, but I think I've kind of buoyed myself pretty good. But this week it kind of started to just catch up with me. I kind of felt the weight of it. I had to unplug quite frequently to just, get my bearings and try to see, okay, where do we focus? What do we do? What can I do? Because for me, like I said, we just can't despair because everything's going to hell in a
Yeah, no, I think when people look at the economy, the what I see, I'm not an economist by any chance, but I do follow economic numbers. I have even when Biden was in office to kind of see where
Yeah, you're a numbers girl for
I'm a
sure.
numbers girl for sure. And what I've noticed is what people are feeling in their pockets is much different than what we're seeing in numbers, right? So we knew that in the beginning of the year, and we talked do this about Doge and the fact that so many people were, laid off, obviously in the federal government. But even with Doge kind of slowing down, what we're seeing is, and even in manufacturing, that we're losing manufacturing jobs. All this stuff about the working class and all this stuff that was spewed for the last couple of months and why we lost the election. Manufacturing jobs were up under Biden. We're losing manufacturing. You have tariffs that have come into play, and these tariffs are actually now impacting a lot of stuff, including groceries, including, the costs of what we're buying on a regular basis. And so you there we are heading into that bad place, which starts with an S, which is called stagflation, where inflation is high and we are losing jobs. And how do people, from a realistic standpoint, how do people work around this economy? I made my video this morning kind of going through the numbers because Washington Post and I forgot who it was. It was another publication put out, no, CNBC, sorry, put out the numbers. I mean, unemployment is rising. You can't deny that. Wage growth is slowing down. The unemployment number. These numbers are starting to align with one another. And when the numbers start aligning, that's when it becomes real, because not only is it something that we're talking about, it's something that economists now are like, oh snap, we are really here. What we feel in our pockets is what we've been feeling for the last couple of months. I don't know how many times have I said on Twitter, on other apps, shit is high. Like the
Mhm.
costs are high. There's no
I mean,
denying this. I mean, when beef is like $3 more than it used to be, and we have been through inflation. So it's not like we haven't been through this before. 2021, 2020, well, 2022, really, in 2023, we were in the thick of inflation. And we felt the weight of that. We kind of the thing is when things go up and then they start coming down and then they go up again, Trump can't blame that on Biden. That is when Biden, you can't blame that on him, right? This is you. How can you blame this economy on Biden when he left and things were going good and then you decided you wanted to put tariffs and make everything a mess? Like those
Yeah, I
things
mean, he
don't
really
jive.
exactly, and we have to call him out on that. I mean, he is literally, like, destroying this country intentionally, tanking the economy. All the things that he's doing is not really to help. It is about him, and his retribution, um, and his desire to gain more money, like he really thinks that like he owns the country, like he owns a company, and we know that he
This
bankrupted how many casinos.
I know. Give me 1 second. I think the FedEx
Okay.
guy's at my door. Give me 1 second. Sorry.
Okay, no worries. Thank you guys for being here with us today. I'll continue until Tiff gets back with us. Please send out some invites, give us some hearts. There is so much going on. Like I was telling Tiff, I I really, for the first time myself, just kind of felt a little overwhelmed, and I'm sure that many of you are feeling that way too. But this is what I do know, that like we can rest, but we can't lie down. We cannot quit. We have to stay in this fight. And part of the way that we stay in it is to stay engaged, which is why I do the things that I do. And Tiff and I come here every couple of weeks, and talk about the things that, are happening. So, you know, um, I just feel like, with the changes to the health policies and things like these, we're entering dangerous territory. Like it's not just like talk or theory. Like we're in the real world, we're starting to feel the pain. People going to the grocery store. It's just me. And I feel the impact, but I have a lot of choice in how I spend my money and what I do. But I can't imagine people who have large families or people who have children, because there's we're going back to school now. And unfortunately, this horrific mass shooting happened. Kids are going back to school. Kids in DC going back with militarized police forces in the streets. And I just feel like other people who may have not been paying attention are probably starting to see now too, because it's impacting them. And unfortunately, it seems like that's the only way some people understand or care or get it is
Yeah, you have to
when it
stop it.
impacts them. Yeah, when it impacts them personally. Speaking of which, one of the big stories this week was, of course, the survivors of the Epstein, and that was a big deal, the press conference that they had and how, awful, um, the president, like, he doesn't want any of that to have any air, and so he had a flyover
Yeah, I
to
mean,
the
you can't make this stuff up, right? It's like he's like, yeah, we did it because there was some. You knew that. I mean, this press conference was planned. You knew that it was going to be at that time. You knew that this was going to impact the sound of their press conference, and it's just it just goes to show kind of just who he is. He doesn't care about victims. He doesn't care about any of this because a sensible person would want these stories to be out. If Jeffrey Epstein is your friend and Jeffrey Epstein was a horrible person, then you should want these women to be able to tell their story. And even the worst, kind of the worst person on Capitol Hill, which is Marjorie Taylor Greene, even had some empathy. Now, is she the hero of this? Hell no, she's a disaster. But she was still empathetic to the pain of these women and understood what the moment called for. And I think that it doesn't make her any better than what she is. She's trash, and so is
I
Nancy.
mean,
Yeah,
she has a track record. She is who she is.
right.
And what I noticed, and Nancy May, same thing. I think they're horrible people, their behavior. But I think that they both had empathy because it impacted them
Oh, I agree with that.
personally. Personally.
Right.
It's a shame that things like that have to impact, you know, people for them to understand the harm that's being done. But that's kind of where we are now. But I'm glad that they continue that they're not stopping with this because I think it's important. I also think it's important that people and how petty he is with the flyover and then the documents that they're releasing. I understand they have rejected all the Republican names.
Right, and it's the same daggone report that they released before. It's like you're just. I mean, I don't understand why they think that we are stupid or people are stupid, that they're not going to put two and two together to realize this is the same report with maybe like 5 or 6 pages. I think it was like 13 or 30 pages, something like that in between, and we're still back at square one. So I want this issue to kind of just stay, just to annoy the shit out of Donald Trump. Like,
Right.
it annoys him. He even wrote like a whole diatribe about this morning. The economy, the job numbers are terrible, and he's talking about Epstein, even though he said he wants Epstein to go away. Like, I mean, he can't have it both ways because
It's living in his head
oh
that
yeah,
because
rent free for sure. Which
he's
is good.
also
Sometimes you got to play psychological games with him, and this is a psychological game because he knows that his people are still talking about it. There's still a lack of trust there. There's something not right, and he knows that. And the thing is, I think he thought that maybe like them doing that interview, like his DOJ doing that interview with Ghislaine
gift
Maxwell
squash.
was gonna change people's perception, because they did ask her, like, was Donald Trump involved in this, and she said no, and no one fed into it. Like, I only heard about it one time on MSNBC, and I never heard about it again. So people didn't feed into it, because obviously she was coerced into having this to get an ability to go to a camp instead of being in a max facility. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, she'd say anything. And first of all, and secondly, I mean, like this is the word of an accused pedophile. Like she
Right, a
just
groomer.
wasn't an enabler.
She
She
was like,
participated. Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad that it's staying in his cross, so to speak, and continues to annoy him. But there are a lot of other things going on. I don't waste a lot of energy around that because I feel like some of his own cult is doing that. And I love that Massey is taking it to him. Like
me too. I do enjoy Matt. I do. The combination of Rokana and Massey is
it
kind of a weird
is. Yeah.
combination, but it also works because Rokana, although I have my criticisms of him, he can be a pain in my butt.
Yes.
One thing he is good at is working with Republicans, odd to say, but he is. And sometimes he's like always on the fence in one way or then another. He's like super far left. And then sometimes he's like almost like on the cusp right there with the right. And you're like, which way
Hmm.
are you going, Rokana? But I guess in this situation, it worked well. And remember, they closed the House to avoid the vote on this, on the Epstein stuff. They went on recess and they thought this was going to go away. Well, it didn't go away, and they came back and it's still there. And Mike Johnson ended up putting his own resolution on the floor to stop this. They only got 4 people to sign on to their petition, and they need 2 more people to agree to it. So I doubt that these people will. They're all scared of Donald Trump in every way possible. And he literally threatened them, and outright, not even
Yes.
like hiding. I mean, he like literally
Right.
like,
They,
you're gonna
from
really
the Oval Office. Like if yeah, if y'all support this, it's a hostile. I'm viewing this as a hostile.
I mean, come on. This is like, he's such a bully, and these people fall for it every time. Massey is the only one that has the balls to actually go against him. And I will give Marjorie Taylor Greene a little bit of credit, because I don't know if she's like coming out of her stupor because she hates Laura Loomer. Like, these two cannot stand each other. So in a way, I feel like she's trying to be like the opposite, go the opposite way. She's still crazy as all can be, but I think she's trying to show that she's a little bit defiant of Trump with this petition. And it's kind of interesting to watch how it's all playing out. Who is going, because she can stay in that office forever because there's no one that's going to take her out. I mean, who's going to take Marjorie Taylor Greene out? It would have to be another crazier
Right,
Republican.
more
She has
extreme.
so she has kind of freedom to kind of move away a little bit, even on other issues. She's moved, like when it was like about the Iran and even Israel. She's moved away from the Trump position on stuff. So she's trying to find a little bit of like a little smidge of independence from MAGA, and they don't like that. But I don't know that that matters. I think the real fight that's coming up is over this spending bill, which we have at the end of the month. And we will see how this plays out because I saw today, speaking of the economy, with the healthcare. So ACA subsidies is a big thing. Those expire at the end of the year. You can thank Biden and even
Mhm.
Joe Manchin for extending those subsidies with the Inflation Reduction Act. It was part of the American Rescue Plan, where they added those subsidies up to 400% of poverty. So a lot more people were able to get some, get the ACA as part of that. So a lot of people joined Obamacare after 2001, but those only lasted until 2025. So the question to the end of 2025. So they're expiring. So the question is, what happens now? We know that the Republicans are probably not going to agree. Democrats are trying to fight hard to get this included in the spending bill. I saw there were 10 Democrats in the House that were trying to pass this because they know that this is going to impact them. They are going to have to run on this. So
Mhm.
I don't know that many more will agree to it, but this is something that the Democrats want, obviously, especially in places like New York. I saw Chuck Schumer saying that he sent another strongly worded letter to the insurance
Bless
companies,
his
though.
heart.
Yeah, so the insurance companies telling them that they need to explain and send letters to members saying, remember, ACA is done through an exchange, and exchange is through private insurance. And some of these insurance companies are going to have to send letters and tell people that their insurance is increased, their premium is increasing by up to 75%,
That's a lot of
which is
money.
going to be a lot. So if you're paying $100, you may be paying $175 a month. If you're paying, this is 75%.
Including, and now you're paying that, and now you're paying more for groceries, and
Exactly. Couple.
and now you also might not have the same access to health care, like, because they've changed that panel. I forget the name of it, but basically it was designed to ensure that the insurance companies provided certain preventative care, that was included, and now they're rolling back all of these kind of protections, so that basically we're going to have a population that ends up uninsured, and then those that are, it's called that catastrophic insurance, which I had for much of my life, because a lot of companies, here, um, don't want to provide those healthcare benefits, and when you put that in combination with, not having access, and not even like those kind of public health department kinds of places to go, because when they made those policy changes at the CDC, those things are, funded with federal dollars and things, and so it's left a lot of things up in flux. I've heard people talk about not being able to go to the pharmacy and get,
Yeah, well, I mean,
vaccines.
all of this stuff is insane. And now you think about when you think about unemployment, right? When
Mhm.
you, let's say you get laid off from your job and you only have, uh, access to healthcare for a certain amount of time, and now people who were not on healthcare that's where they would go seek healthcare was from Obamacare. they are not going to be able to qualify for some of these plans in 2026 because they would still be above the way too far above the poverty line to be able to receive like the subsidies. So they're putting people in a bad position. But what I think that people don't understand, and which I try to emphasize in my video today, is that the people that are impacted by this the most are Black people. The job numbers are telling a story, and we need to start paying attention to the story. The story is that this time last year, white people and white unemployment was higher than it is now. It was 3.8, it's 3.7 this time. Black unemployment was 6.1 this time last year. It is 7.5% now. 300,000 Black women are no longer in the workforce. We are starting to see a trend. We see the cities where, this is what I emphasize in my video, we see the cities where groceries are the highest. These are where Black and brown people are living. They call it inner city.
Yeah.
I hate that word, but it's the cities, the urban areas where people are starting to. And guess what? White people live there too, so they're about to be pissed off
Mhm.
themselves.
And some of those places also are food deserts to a certain extent. There are places that make it impossible and very difficult for people to, get access to, like fresh produce and those types of things. The SNAP benefits are ending. So there are a lot of things that are coming into play. And, like are we got a Christmas coming up and these tariffs, the things that have happened. He did get smacked down for that, but then now they're trying to take it to the Supreme Court. So we shall see. Um, Also, like I said, the court kind of thing, it it is helping in some extent to some extent,
No.
but we're going to have to be in there because remember, like the court, one of the district courts told them that they had to close Alligator Alcatraz.
Mhm.
They appealed it, and now they don't have to. So, like, everything that he wants to do is going to be taken up to this Supreme Court. So, really, like, they have sided with him on so many things. I hope that some of them, like, I don't have a lot of faith in them, but I really do hope that some of them are starting to see that, like, giving him that immunity unleashed, hell, on this country. And you even had judges who have come out and wrote a letter about some of the things like he is blatantly continuing to disregard the law, and they have expressed concern. So I hope that those judges can speak to the hearts and minds of the Supreme Court judges who
Let's hope. Yeah, and I think the thing with the courts is that the courts are slow, right? So we cannot always depend
we
on the
cannot count on
courts
them.
to get quick action because the courts are the courts. It takes years. If it goes to Supreme Court, they only hear cases between a certain amount of time unless it's like a special kind of situation. And so we are going to have to wait to keep hearing some of these things. Like I said,
Yeah,
the ones that have come out are one of those one-off situations with the tariffs or Gavin Newsom or all these, and sometimes it's the appeals court. It has to go through all these, the district court, the appeals court, then to SCOTUS. And sometimes, it gets shut down before then, or it gets, stayed, or it gets delayed, and we're still kind of in this limbo phase. But the truth is we can rely on the courts only to a certain extent. The question is how do Democrats message on these types of issues as we go forward? And I think that is where we're struggling, right? Because we understand it, you and I understand, and most of the people that are listening understand this, but how do other people who are not politically savvy, do not understand politics the way we do, are not paying attention to news, but are going to the store and having to pay more than they can afford at this point, who are going to get those letters in the mail saying that their insurance, because like, let's be honest, a lot of people don't know they are on Obamacare. They
Right.
they just know that they are getting insurance through whatever company there is, and they went through the state and they were able to get
Yeah, they're on ACA. They have the ACA, not Obamacare.
yeah, they yeah, some people just don't need they and every state calls it something different. I mean, there is a lot.
Yeah.
So people are gonna start to catch up. And like you said, the holidays are coming up. We are now in almost the fall, and the tariffs are kicking in. And it's not just something that he proposed, it's something that's actually
Yeah.
hitting people's pockets. How does that impact toys? Because that's gonna be a big thing for Christmas. And people are constantly if people are getting laid off or there are no jobs, this is going to cause issues because guess what? Most of the unemployment for people that are young people, especially those that are coming out of college, it's like 10%. People are not going to find jobs. So what are those they're going to be stuck living with their parents, and this is where we are. But again, these people sat home in 2024 thinking that Trump was going to do something miraculous for this economy, and in fact what he's doing is the opposite of the progress that we made before, and now we're kind of just stuck here waiting to
Mhm.
see what's going to happen. And Democrats, I'm sorry, I love you guys. I need you guys to be better messengers and be there to talk to these people because it's gonna hit the fan and we don't have the power to change it, but we got to be at least empathetic and be willing to say this is what we're going to do going forward.
Absolutely. And I think that I can't even remember now who it was that I was listening to because obviously we, as you say, we understand and we know that the Democratic policies are the ones that have been the most beneficial to the greater population in this country, to the working class that, the Republicans pretend that they care about. But it has been Democratic policies that have actually helped to improve the working class and lower, people on the lower economic run as well, because you cannot leave those people behind either because they affect the economy. And I think that it's important that, like, it's good to know policy and to have them, but I think it's really important for them to start zeroing in on the values that they bring, like how what they value and how those values impact people's lives. Like and when people, say like, well, how or question them on it, then they can talk about the policies and things. But I feel like what we have done and Democrats have leaned into the policies and the wonky stuff that really doesn't
Too
move
much.
people.
Yeah, we need both. People are so simple, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but they are.
Hmm.
They just want like three bullet points. They don't want a whole like white paper on how we're gonna get things done or how this is going to change. They're like, just tell me what you're gonna do. Make a video. Tell me these are the five things these are our five values. And I know this is something that that Leader Jeffries and the House are working on. They're working
Yay.
on like a five. He talked about this on our podcast that we did, that they're gonna have like a five pillar kind of plan, not all fleshed out, but just talking points. And there was an article about this in the Washington Post the other day, talking through it, and it needs to
Oh,
happen.
send that
Like,
to me. I missed that. If
yeah,
you
I'll send it
will.
to you. Yeah, they're working on this, and it's not going to be like a in depth kind of thing. It's going to be very high level on what were they gonna focus on in 2026. What and I asked him, so when we had our podcast with him, I asked
Mm-hmm.
him, I said, listen, these are all talking points, but is every single person who's running, are they gonna be able to, like you said, flesh this all out and be able to talk through what, because everywhere is gonna be different, right? What's People have different needs in different places. So he said yes. He said they're gonna be core issues, and then they're gonna be able to talk through each and every, whatever needs to happen. So I'm like, all right, cool. So
Yeah, I think that's important. I really would love to see that article because I do think that it's important, like they have kind of like this broad set of,
Mhm.
kind of talking points and things. But I think as far as the individual representatives and people go, and people who are trying to inform people like us, it's, being able to put those things in your own words. I think people need to get more comfortable with that. And also, your area, like the people around you, because you just can't have this one big generic message. It's not going to work, and hit the same everywhere. And that's what I need people to kind of understand. And sometimes I don't think they do because, we're all in our bubbles, so to speak. And it's like the things that people in urban areas, large metropolitan areas care about, even the way they speak and kind of interact is very different from people in the South and small rural areas and things. But we need all of those people. It is going to take all of us, and we need to reach them because it breaks my heart to see, like, I don't know anything about the New York race. But what I do see, okay, I know you're a New York girl, but what I do see is the leading candidate doing a lot of and saying a lot of the same things that Kamala Harris, vice president, ran on, and people acting like it's brand new. Like,
People, let's just switch that. People are acting brand new in many ways. They are acting brand new because they're acting like he's the only person that has ever said any of this stuff. And while I understand that the way that he is delivering it is understandable to maybe younger people because that is kind of the people that didn't show up in 2024. Let's be real. I looked at the chart, the turnout level for Black and brown Latinos, Asians was pretty damn terrible, right? Um,
Mhm.
so there is an audience that needs to be reached, and maybe that was a core audience that was not reached, and maybe his message resonates. So maybe there's things to be taken from his message, the way he's messaging. It's not the message. The message was there. So
Yes.
maybe there's a way to message it better, but he is not the only person that has ever messaged. I mean, in my state, Westmore, my governor, he had a very simplified message: wage, work, wealth. These were three pillars. Okay, this was not a hard thing. He this is what he ran on. Though these three things, and there was policy that was underneath each one of those things, but that was his core economic. What Mamdani is doing is not a new thing, and I'm tired of people doing that. I mean, frankly, it's working. People are gravitating to it, especially younger people, and I think that is a him thing. People like him, and I understand why people are drawn to him. I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I've watched him on podcasts. I've watched him on different things, and he is
He's
charismatic.
very correct.
Yeah, he,
He
and
is.
he is personable. He's down to earth. So I get it. I understand why people are drawn to him. Kamala Harris had 107 days to be able to give her policy, which was rushed by the media. They're not. I get it. But there's a lot of stuff that people are saying that are just insane, like endorsements. First of all, endorsements, they come when the person is ready to give an endorsement. You don't
Yeah.
force somebody to give an endorsement. When Hakeem Jeffries is ready to give his endorsement, it will be a show. Believe me. This is New York. We do things big. We don't just make a tweet and say, "Hello, this will be they will be outside of some Madison Square Garden in Brooklyn and somewhere." It will be a show because that's how New Yorkers do. So people need to relax with this whole he needs to endorse.
Yes.
Hakeem himself, I'm not making this up. Hakeem said to Don Lemon, if you haven't watched that, it's really good. Don Lemon was on Capitol Hill yesterday, 3 hours. It's like so long, but I watched the interview he did with Hakeem Jeffries. So good. He brought listen, when Hakeem Jeffries is comfortable, he's great. When he's not comfortable, you're like, what the hell? But
Mm.
he was comfortable talking to Don Lemon, and he told, Don asked him, like, are you planning to endorse? And he said, well, stay tuned, right? So Hakeem does not have poker face. Like, he does not, he's like me.
Yeah.
You're gonna know everything he's thinking on his face. And so you could tell he was like, yeah, well, when I go home, I will do it. And Don is like, Don, ever the reporter, he's like, so when are you going home? And he's like, this weekend. And so it was like fun. It was like, I posted the video. It's like a funny banter between the two. But it's clear that he is probably going to endorse. And I'm going to lose my mind when he does, because I'm going to see the people in the center lose their damn minds because he endorsed. But you got to understand the dynamics of New York. Hakeem Jeffries' district voted for Mamdani. What I think
Yes.
what I think people are failing to realize is that Hakeem Jeffries, while Mamdani is an assembly person in New York, no one knows him. He was
Mhm.
not someone. He's from Queens. Like, he represents Queens. It's not like people didn't talk like that. But so he didn't know him. And so he has tried to get to know him. The whole like, oh, APAC controls him kind of thing. Listen, if APAC was controlling Hakeem Jeffries, he would have never met with Mamdani. There would be no conversations. He congratulated him publicly. He congratulated him privately. He's held 2 meetings, introduced him to Black community leaders, I think Black church leaders, to be able to give him an opportunity to present to them his goals and what he wants to do. And say, if Hakeem Jeffries did not was controlled, trust me, none of this would have happened.
Right. Well,
So
I
it's
felt like
the
he
whole thing,
would.
the whole conversation to me is just so ludicrous because people do not use logic at all. And when he does
It's
endorse,
such a waste of energy.
it is. And there is okay. There are 2 races that are happening simultaneously to this one that are going to be close. One is in Virginia and one is in New Jersey.
Yes.
Raz Baraka ran against Mikey Sherrill. He literally just endorsed this week. So if you're gonna bitch about endorsements, y'all weren't bitching about that. No one cared, because no one cares about endorsements except for when it comes to Hakeem Jeffries. And apparently, we know why they're doing this. It's because they
Mhm.
want to prove, one, that he's controlled, which he's not. Two, he's Black. And three, they want to tear him down. I mean, this is obvious. But guess
It, it,
what? When he
it is.
endorses, what are you going to say then? Nothing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I do think that I don't get involved in it because, like I said, I'm not in New
It's
York,
not.
but I do think it's just, to me, like a lot of wasted energy. And I see some kind of independent media folks, zeroing in on that too. And I'm like, it's just so ridiculous. And one local one, here, I saw him put that, what is that name, that hashtag they're calling him?
Apex Shakur.
Yes. I'm like,
I
but you
can't.
know what?
I
That
can't.
is, yeah, that is just kind of propaganda. And I feel like a lot of people are feeding into that. And I hate people who are trying to be sources of information, media sources here, doing that. Like Tennessee Hall is so disappointed to see him, put
They,
that.
they've been
Uh,
they've been pretty disappointing this last week with this, because truthfully, if if and when Hakeem Jeffries does decide to endorse, that would actually help to bring more votes to Mamdani. Sometimes these things are done strategically. There's 2 months
mhm,
until the race. But for all we know, Eric Adams is likely going to drop out and maybe take a job with Trump, because Jesus, I can't. This was a story this week. I don't know what Eric Adams is going to do, but assuming that Eric Adams is going to drop out and that will bring more votes to Cuomo is a false premise. This whole thing is stupid in so many ways. And as a person who grew up in New York and understands New York politics, this drives me insane. Okay,
mhm.
Cuomo lost the race. He is not winning this race. He is already defected. My parents are not voting for Andrew Cuomo. You lost. They actually like Mamdani. My aunt is like,
Yeah,
I hope that Cuomo gets his A beat. Like that. I mean, this is how people in New York are talking. They're not sitting around waiting for a endorsement from anyone. They know what they're going to do already. So it is,
right.
and there are people that may be like on the fence. I think a lot of it comes from like maybe like church, like Black churches, like they,
Mhm.
and sometimes if Hakeem Jeffries does endorse, that may move them to a Mamdani. He's not endorsing Cuomo, I can tell you that, and he's definitely not endorsing Eric Adams. He has only talked to one candidate in this race, and
Yes. Like,
that is.
he's,
But people don't see the real picture here because they don't. They lack common sense. It's
yeah,
driving me
he
insane.
And here's a little bit of tea. I peeped early on that Hakeem's brother, who is a professor,
Yeah,
is very down with
he
Mandami.
is.
So like
Yeah, Kwame. Yeah, his name's Kwame. He's definitely down with Mamdani. They call him his Marxist brother, the Marxist
uh,
professor. Listen, the truth of the matter is, it doesn't. In the scheme of things, what does this even really matter? But it's what people have chosen to harp on for the last like 2 months, and we have real things that are happening. There could potentially be a shutdown in what I don't know what today is in 25 days at this point. The
mhm.
government could be shut down because Republicans are not willing to work with Democrats and are sticking to their, whatever Trump is going to tell them to do. And we are going to be in trouble. So if he is going to endorse, he needs to just endorse and get it over with because we have real fights that are happening in Washington that are going to
Well,
matter.
all around the country, Tiff, because there's a very important race in, Virginia, and
Right.
we have one here in Tennessee. One of our representatives, Green, um, bowed out because he got a better job, and so we have a race here too, and we have some really good Democratic candidates running, and it really is important. And I look at it because here in Tennessee, a lot of the things that they're trying to do on the national level have already happened here, like the gerrymandering, that he is going crazy with. Like now he's moving that to Missouri. And so I can see now that they're going to do the same thing in Missouri that they did here in Tennessee 2 elections ago when they carved up the city so
Mm.
that now we only have one Democratic representative.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
they're definitely gonna, this is, which is why I say, why are we wasting so much time on New York when there's so much happening? Redistricting is and it's, I don't even like calling it that. Gerrymandering is a big problem. And they're going to cheat their way to 2026 because they know they can't win. They can see the trajectory. They see, even in places like Florida, Democrats are turning out more than they did in 2024. People are frustrated. And as the economy gets worse and worse and worse, more people are going to say, what's the alternative? Because this is going to be the opposite of what happened last year. People were comfortable under I'm gonna say Obama, under Biden. They were comfortable under Biden. They thought they could make it better, but what they are going to find out is it's clearly gotten worse. And now they're going to be like, oh, we need change. So then they're going to be like, okay, why do we have to suffer for people to wake up? I don't understand. It is
This is
so frustrating.
it's such a repetitive thing because I mean, this happens time and time again. Democrats come in, swoop in to fix a mess that is generally created by the Republican greed. That's what Obama, and he stepped in, he did a great job, And then afterwards, people were like, no, we've had enough of that. And we know that underneath all of this is it's kind of this white superiority complex that's running through all of this. And, when Trump got into office, uh, how he mismanaged COVID caused a lot of people to then, get a little afraid because it was starting to affect them, people in their lives, their community. And so they were like, yeah, we're going with the same man, and then, okay, he pulled us off the brink. He stopped, the bleeding from the pandemic and um, instituted some of the most progressive policies that we have had in this country, really since FDR. And, but he's too old. He's too old.
He is too
He's
old,
establishment
and
Democrat.
yeah, he was too old, and Kamala was too black and a woman. So and she only had 107 days. So where do you go from there? And now we have this maniac that's in the office who is doing all kinds of crazy. Can we just talk about RFK for like 5 minutes because he is absolutely insane. What we saw
Did you
yesterday
see that?
on
Did you
display,
see that that hearing?
yeah, it was a
Wh-
disaster. First of all, the way he was breathing into that mic,
It was like Darth Vader or something.
it was like, how are you talking about the healthcare system is terrible when you sound like that? Who's giving you your healthcare? I mean, it was obnoxious. And just the things that he believes and things that he's saying. And my senator, Angela Alster Brooks, cannot stand him. From the beginning, she's told him to his face, you should not be picked to come to be the secretary. And she is on his neck like all the time. I saw her
Well,
last I saw her last night.
I saw your pics, but we're gonna have to talk about that.
Yeah.
But she had her barbecue, huh? The
Yes.
annual barbecue. Yeah,
Yes.
y'all look like y'all were having fun out there.
Yeah, no,
So
it was a good time, but just, like I said, the way that when you talk to politicians, right? I don't A lot of people don't talk to politicians. I do. They don't even have words to describe what the hell is happening, okay? They
we're in the upside down.
they're
Like it's
dumbfounded. Like me and Angela were talking, and she's like, she obviously she's proud, so proud that I'm proud that she's there. But she's like, can you believe that this is happening? You know what I mean? Like we're all just sitting there like even local people, like our local electeds were obviously there last night. And we're just like, what is happening? Like no one knows what to do. And I think this is also the problem that people want Congress to like kind of like do something. These people are like shocked of what is really true. It's happening at a rapid pace. No one expected it to be that way. Yes, they should have been more proactive. Yeah, you have to fight fire with fire. There's only but so much power that Congress has to fight the fire. I did post that video yesterday about Schumer holding up nominations. There are things happening, but it's not at the pace that that even electeds can keep up with because it's happening so fast. So how the hell? And people are like, do something. They're screaming at the top of their lungs. But what can you really do? I mean, people like Gavin Newsom who have the power and a legislature that can help to, obviously gerrymander back. And then you have like my governor is fighting with Donald Trump about whatever. I mean, this was like a whole 2-week thing that he's fighting with Donald Trump because Donald Trump is talking crap about our state. He's saying that Baltimore is a hellhole. He's like, Westmore is like, bring it on. And it's like this is what other states have put blue states into. Like we are now fighting for our own, like blue states are comfortable. Like we are comfortable people. And now we're no
yeah,
longer
but that can't
comfortable.
that can't stay. And people, I hear people say, "I'm glad that the blue states." I don't live in one. I'm glad that there are good blue state governors who are doing things to protect their state, their constituents, as they should. But we, this is not a continent of countries. This
Right.
is the United States of America, and that cannot be sustained. Like they should, come together, protect, but we can't had this remain and remain a country. With places like Florida taking getting rid of the vaccines and everything. People don't stay in a specific area; they travel
Right.
or whatever. So
That
the dangers that are allowed to occur in red states will come over to blue states, as well.
and
So
it is. And it is. That's the problem. Like I said, New York, I say all across the eastern seaboard, maybe except for Pennsylvania. So from Maryland all the way up until Maine, the only state that's not blue would be Pennsylvania, and that's like that, but that extends to the west. Everyone is comfortable. Like they're in their blue bubble, I call it. But now you can no longer be in a blue bubble. Maryland cannot be in a blue bubble. We voted for Kamala. We overwhelmingly voted for Kamala. It doesn't matter. Like you said, we're part of the United States. And these folks are going to try to bring us down. And then Trump knows that we're reliant on the federal government. He knows that we get jobs from the federal government here. He's doing this on purpose.
Well, here's the thing. Yes, he is. He's doing it because he's following Viktor Orban's playbook. Like he is taking us into an authoritarian state. like really, really quickly. I think Hungary, Viktor Orban is a little surprised at how rapidly they've been able to pull this off. But this is what people need to understand and zero in on the things that are happening. And maybe just because they may not be happening to you immediately, but see the danger in things that are happening around you and in other states, because just because you're in a blue state or even it doesn't mean you're safe. None of us are going to be safe with this maniac who basically wants to control the country, to be a dictator. And he plays around with the language, but he's very, very serious. I mean, he has dictator envy because, like all the crap that he has done created kind of an alliance. He's created a new world order, and you saw that in on display in China. Xi, Kim Jong Un, Putin, Modi, all these leaders that she brought together to say, "Hey, we don't need you." And the thing of it is that European countries are also, even though they may not love, you know, China's form of governance, what my friends in Europe tell me is that they know that they can trust them to keep their word when they make compacts and things with them. Like they don't renege. They don't have a history of reneging like we do, because we've had this idiot to be in office twice now to undo things, agreements and things. And so it puts us in a very dangerous place, like moving the space command. That was the other announcement that he made. Like, people don't understand how dangerous that is. And he literally said he moved it because they didn't vote for him, but the folks in Alabama did. Yes. And you cannot be, and he's going to change the Department of Defense to the Department of War. Like, make that make sense, because weren't you campaigning on how you were going to stop all these wars, and now you run around talking about seven wars, which I don't know which ones, but you've already, stopped seven wars. But now you're going to name the Department of Defense the Department of War. Like, it's nuts. It makes no sense, but it's very dangerous. Like, he's crazy, but crazy in a very, very dangerous way now, because he has power and he's enabled all these other crazy people, and even people in his own camp. Like, they are saying the quiet part out loud. Like, we suspect, he has no qualms about cheating. I mean, he called up the governor and said, "Hey, I need this many more votes," and he called up Texas and said, "I need you to give me five more seats." Cleta Mitchell, who I call Miss Voter Suppression herself, was actually on a podcast where she talked about him not allowing there to be, you know, fair elections in 2026. And this is someone who heads up a right wing organization that is all about voter suppression. But they use, like fancy AI, techniques and equipment like Eagle AI to do the purging and this sort of thing. But he wants to do things like, think about it. If he's got troops in the streets now, for no reason, he's claiming for crime. When it comes down to, by the time we get around to next year with the elections, it won't be unusual. Like, people will have been conditioned to having this. And this is going to be very, very intimidating. So we're going backwards, to a time when, civil rights laws and things prevented those things. And of course, they're shredding all of those. And people need to understand. I love that Stacey Abrams, I don't know if you have been watching her, but she's been interviewed a lot. She's writing a lot of, op-eds and things, because she is talking and speaking about, dictatorships and the stages of it. Much like people like Timothy Snyder and Jason Stanley have been, and Ruth Ben Gott. But I feel like she's speaking to it, in language and things that people understand, because people are acting like it's brand new, this news of the steps. But it's something I've talked about for a long time, because these people who study authoritarianism know the signs and they see it, and like, we're already here, but we still are at a place where we the people still have power and control to be able to stop it. No. Like, once he clamps down on our ability to go out into the street to protest or whatever, it starts to the opportunities start to close down. And certainly when he captures the election, when he controls it, that's it. Like that is our last opportunity to really quell his power. We have got to, we've got to take control of the house. And I don't know that people are really understand. I feel like, our hope is, or the work that we have to do is to get people who couldn't be bothered to vote, who didn't understand. It's like kind of pulling them back in. And I feel like because of the economy, the situation with the jobs and all of these things, it's going to be affecting them personally.
Right.
So,
So again, people again, like I don't know how many times to say people have to suffer to give a damn, and it's so frustrating that
it is.
you can warn people, you can tell people this is what could possibly happen, but until it actually happens, they don't listen. And then it's too late. And what do you do? Like this is like we warn people during 2020, 2016, Trump is crazy. This is going to happen. We end up having a pandemic. Like I said, we ended up now it's like, okay, now we need change. Then we end up, it's like we're just going in a bad cycle, but the cycle may end without us even having a say in it. If this man becomes, like you said, a full blown authoritarian, and it would be because it's not because he he has the power has been given to him by the people in power, which is the
Hmm.
Republicans that are in the House, that are in the Senate, that will not tell him no. The courts that will not tell. When people choose not to tell him no in his own party, this is how we get to where we are and where we're heading. Because the minority party can only do but so much, but the
Right.
majority party has control. So what are they going to do at one point to stop this? Because I have yet to see them stop anything that Trump has tried to do. They have
They
multiple excuses for this shit.
Yeah, they are enabling him. And not only them, I mean, but they're the ones in power, but also a lot of these companies because they see an opportunity to make money. And this is the same thing that, has happened really in every kind of authoritarian type of takeover, like in Italy with Mussolini, in Germany with Hitler. There were a lot of business people and, religious leaders and things who liked the ideas or benefited their agenda in some way until it didn't, and that's what we have to understand. Like these companies or whatever, it could be good for them right now, but Putin did the same thing in Russia. And when he gets tired of these people, he just takes the whole company. Like first it's a cut, and then, eventually
Intel,
it's like,
yeah, and Intel giving 15% of their. It's like what in the world is
yeah.
happening? But they have to stop it. I mean, the Republicans have to at some point stop it. I don't know if they ever will.
Well, they just seem to be very spineless because instead of pushing back to him, what I see is a lot of them choosing not to run anymore, which is good
Well, that's
for
true.
us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
But
But the scary part of them not running is that when they're in red district, there's just somebody that's even crazier than them. So then you have, and then I think somebody said that, like Joni Ernst. Obviously, she said that she wasn't running again. And then there's Chuck Grassley, who's 90 something years old, and he's probably gonna die in office. And you have all these people that were kind of around during like the Tea Party era, and now you have just MAGA sycophants in office, and one has to hope that whoever we're running on the Democratic side can beat whomever is running on the Republican side. But we know that the person that's going to be running is going to be 10 times worse than probably Joni Ernst, and she's no walk in the park. Okay, there's also that piece of it where you just have these insane people that are Trumpers and will allow him to do whatever he wants. So it does come back to the voters to decide what kind of leadership that they want. The voters actually have control in 2026 to decide how they want this country to be run. Do you want Do we do a 2018 where we win a bunch of seats that we were not supposed to win and win back 40 seats, or do we give up? Because it feels like at some point people may just give up because they think that there's nothing that can be done, which is why I go back to Democrats have to have good messaging on this to motivate people. And it sucks that you have to motivate people to want to vote, but it's not so much as motivating as it is just being on the same side as them. A lot of people that
Well, I think it's helping them to understand how it does affect
right,
them. You know what I'm saying? Like how it impacts them directly because
right,
people are selfish and it's like how this is going to impact you and,
right. And
what
also
you value.
I think people have people that are in Congress sometimes come off as tone deaf. And many
Mhm.
of them are they are wealthy, right? So they don't know how to talk to people who are not wealthy. And so
Right.
you need that messaging to kind of sync up where people are not looking at them like, "Oh, well, you make $174,000 a year and you're straight. You have health insurance. What do I have? I have nothing." So there has to be a level of empathy and understanding for the people who are not in those positions. Person that's making 40,000 a year looks at you as though you're an elitist. How do you connect those dots and make it so that they see that you are on the same level and you're trying to help them? There's a lot of work that needs to be done to bridge community and make people understand that that connection on how I'm going to help you. Because a lot of people really are tuned out from politics because they don't believe that anyone can help them to have a better life. They just don't believe that.
Yeah, and politics have gotten a bad name because the information war that we're in, this kind of propaganda thing that has pitted people against, like their neighbors and other people. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to be a long time term kind of strategy, but in the interim, like this is our last opportunity, this upcoming election to make a change, to change the balance of power at the federal level so that we can have some folks up there that will call him, you know, um, to account, that will, stop some
That's
of it. But it's important. But I think that it really is important at the local level because what I tell people that like the things that they are doing, what they were trying to do at the federal level now, they've already done in my states and other red states. And they, once they, have full control and he goes into full dictatorship mode, that's what he is going to do around the country. So it won't matter whether you're red or blue. So I think it's important for people to get involved in at the local level where things impact them to become aware. And I think as, this economy continues to tank, people will be suffering. They will feel things. So they're going to look for solutions. And I feel like, or someone to talk to them, speak to them about the issue and, kind of talk about how they can help them,
yeah, no,
and
here I agree with you on the local thing. Like our local Democratic Party, the Maryland Democratic Party, is having a talk back tour, and
yay.
they are going around all the different counties and just having basically letting people just vent. Sometimes people just need to vent, right? So people are going to
Yeah.
show up and they're just going to vent. And I was talking to our Maryland he's like a county executive, but he's also the leader. He just became the leader of the Democratic Party. So I was talking to him yesterday, and I said, one of our controllers, so her name is Brooke Learman. She's the first woman controller of the state. She won statewide. I love her. She's doing on tour too. So she's doing a separate tour and she's gonna just go to all different counties from I think starting in like end of September to December. Just go to again, a lot of people just want to bitch and complain, but you got to give them a forum to do that and then talk to them about the things that you have done. Because sometimes people just want community. They just want to talk to people. And on the local level, to me, that is so important. And then sometimes I'm sure I may go to the one on Monday because it's near my house just to kind of see what the vibe is. Because when me and Gwen went to the town hall that they had, I want to say that was like March. It was still cold outside. there was, like, so many people pissed. I mean, this was when during Doge, and people were mad. The line
Right?
so long. People couldn't get their questions answered because there were so many people. We were there for 3 hours, almost 3 hours, and people like, half the people were able to talk. So, there are a lot of people that are just even in blue states that are very upset about what is happening, and they want to get it off their chest, and they need someone to listen to them. Part of this is listening. Democrats do not do a great job of listening. We like to talk, but we don't really listen.
Lecture, like, "We know better. We got this. We understand."
Or
So I'd love to.
and sometimes it's not even lecturing, it's almost like just not absorbing what people are complaining about, and sometimes they're valid, sometimes they're not valid, sometimes things that they cannot do per se, but they still want, and you have to kinda tell people too, like, "Listen, we don't have the power to do that. There's nothing that I personally can do to make this better, but I understand and I hear your concern because guess what? I have the same concern too. I have to live in this country with you, and for me and my family, it's impacting us." So sometimes people just want to hear that someone is empathizing with the bullshit that we're going through.
Exactly, exactly, and I do think that's important, so good on them for doing that. I hope that, people everywhere, and thank all of you guys for listening to us, today, because I always love, chopping it up with Tiff, but I do, one of the things that I wanna keep impressing on people is, like, wherever you live, you need to understand what is going on locally, because that is really kind of where change can be most effective. You can have that opportunity to actually talk to people in office, in power. These are the people who are going to be determining whether your potholes get fixed, or whether you have SNAP benefits, or what the requirements are going to be in maybe your state, or whatever. But I do think that it's important. It's one of the reasons why I'm involved in the organization that I am, Blue Tennessee, when we are in a super majority, and it's been this way for a decade and a half. And what are we to do? The people who vote for Democrats, or who want to vote for progress, we have to we vote, but because it's been so gerrymandered, it really doesn't change a lot of things. So we have to change the power, and sometimes the power balance. And sometimes people have to start thinking about the fact that, like, every time you run, it might not constitute a win, an immediate win. But we have to keep working toward those things, chipping away. And I feel like we are such a kind of an instant result kind of society, that a lot of times when it comes to elections and things like this, people just, it's like that. It doesn't matter. We can't win there, and we never will if we don't try, because it's like, a lot of the people, uh, a lot of this stuff happened when people were disengaged, and now it's going to start to affect even people who voted Republican. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, um, the candidates who are running here are going to have to be going into some of those communities and talking to them, and they're already starting to do that. So I would encourage anyone to find things at your local level that you can get involved in, and do. And that if you live in a safe blue state or area, help organizations that are in other states, or candidates in other states that may need that help. It's important. Like, everybody somewhere needs to be doing something. Like, if we don't, we just can't be sitting on the sidelines. It's okay to vent. We need to sometimes, but venting alone is not going to save us. It's kind of like thoughts and prayers. Like, we can pray, but we need to move our feet,
Yeah,
baby.
we need some action. And again, waiting for there's no one that's gonna come save us. So we
No
have to
one.
get out there and do what we need to do. I think, for me, I have taken off the summer for the most part because I just had a lot going on. I've obviously done, our shows and things that we had going on, like, but I haven't been out there like, and it's been quiet. I mean, 20
Hmm.
we don't have elections here in 2020 on odd years, so, pretty much it's, like, quiet. But, of course, we have a We have a lot of races coming up next year. We have our governor's race. Our Westmore's running for reelection. Our controller's running again. We have congressional races that are coming up in 26. We have all of our local electeds are have to run again for office. So yesterday I'm going out. That was kind of like my kickoff for this for the season. And so I am definitely back out there and trying to engage and see what's going on. And we have lots of events coming up. So I am I am already tired, and it's only been 'cause, like, yesterday
Well,
came
don't
and I
let
was
the
like, "Lord, I'm tired," but it was great to see, the governor as well as my senator and enjoy joyful time because I think politics should not be boring and stuffy, and while it everything feels kind of like insane. We are not hopeless people. So we have to hope that people come to their senses and actually do the work and get out and vote and stop taking what we have, this democracy, for granted. So that is my focus for the next couple of months is to kind of be out there, spread the message and talk through what we have going on here because like I said, all politics is local and we have to win on a local level. We cannot elect another Republican back to be the governor. Westmore is doing a great job, and we really need people to stop being so negative about what like every little thing they complain about. And I'm so tired of complaining. Like maybe if you spend a little listen, I complain about a lot of stuff. I don't always write it on social media. But the things that people are complaining about are things that are just so unnecessary. And it's become just like regurgitating the bullshit on nonstop all day, every day on things and a lot of dissension between the centrists and the leftists. Listen, the leftists get on my damn
like that's
they get
one
on my
thing we
last nerve. Listen, leftists get on my last nerve, but now so are centrists. So I feel like I'm caught in the middle of two factions of people who hate each other, and I'm not one of those people. I There are leftists that I cannot stand, like Nina Turner, but then there are centrists like some other people. I'm not going to name some names, that irk my nerves too. So there has to be a median between these things, and sometimes it's not as simple as saying sometimes you gotta like move forward. And I feel like a lot of people are still stuck in 2016, 2020, and 2024. Like you gotta move on. We have to win in 26. Move on, people. Like Jesus.
you we right, we cannot stay stuck there. And like you said, these kind of tribal type attitudes and things over really silly stuff, it really does have to stop because our freedoms, all of our freedoms are at stake. Our democracy, like these little squabbles and differences, like right now we all need to be on the pro democracy train. Okay, let's get together on that and stop with the quibbling, the purity test, and all of these things, and asking for perfection or people to be a certain way, especially if they are running in local levels, or they're getting in office at local levels, because that's not going to affect you if you're in another state or whatever.
And let the local people decide what they want. Not
Exactly.
Twitter. Like Twitter doesn't get to decide what New Yorkers think or what people in even on the state level, like people like New Jersey's gonna pick who they want. Go help Mikey Sherrill. Go help Abigail Spamberger. Go because that crazy lady with the dead ends, she cannot win. Winston Sears cannot win. Sorry.
Oh, we. Yes. And see, you just have more and more, extremists coming out because they're feeling emboldened. And like I said, we have to make sure that we have some free and fair elections in this in this next, because he's coming for them. He does not plan to leave office, and that's another thing. Like even though JD Vance steps in, he is all hooked in with those tech bros or
You
whatever, and they
crazy.
are they are crazy, and they have a lot of money, and they have their claws in all of our business. Okay.
Right.
So we have to be concerned about those things. And I thank all of you for, coming to join our Fired Up Friday here. And I did, my weekly podcast drops every Sunday, and Tiff was the one last Sunday, so check it out. And Tiff also does a great show with Too Raw, Too Real and Zach, and it's the big three. They chop it up on Wednesdays. At what time is it again, Tiff?
At 10 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays on YouTube Live. And if you miss it, you can always watch it the next day. We did do a interview with Hakeem Jeffries, and I talked about that with Miss D. So Leader Jeffries was on last week on our podcast, and we talked about redistricting and the government shutdown. So if you haven't seen it, go to Outpost. I can post it so you guys can see it. I don't think I posted on Substack, so I may just
Yeah,
post a link to that so people can watch it. And it was really good. It was a really good informative conversation. But we meet every Wednesday at 10 p.m. and it's we have colorful conversations, not so much like here where we're talking nice. We are keep it
Mhm.
very real on there, but sometimes you need people to keep it real. And
And it's a different age group, I think, and it's important though. I think that people can have these conversations. They don't always have to be nice and courteous, you know.
we have a little bit more. We're a little bit more demure on here.
Yes, yes, and I love it. So if you guys haven't seen them, that's the big three over on YouTube on Wednesday night. And of course, you guys know that you can join me in the Good Trouble chat every Monday on Spoutable at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central, and then every other Friday night, also on Spoutable. I do a deep dive into specific issues and things. We do documentary watch and we watch clips to talk about issues that I think are very important. And the issue that we're exploring now, the series is the threat that supremacy poses. And so we've been watching this and we've kind of broken it up into four different parts. We're getting ready to start part three, but join us over there. I've gotten so much feedback about it because it's an opportunity for people to become um, more informed about things because a lot of times, even though people that, are engaged and follow the news, they don't understand like some historical context and things, which I do, I think is very, very important. So, people can connect the dots of certain things that are happening now and understand like that this is not new. And a lot of people who are kind of young or just getting into politics, sometimes they don't know these things. They are not teaching civics in school. They're not teaching history in school, especially Black history. And they don't even want the museums and things to hold this information now. So it really is important for us to provide this information and to, have a repository and a place where people can get it. So I appreciate the work that you do. And I definitely want to thank all of you for supporting us. Join us on all the platforms, wherever we're doing the work. Help to amplify that work because it's going to take all of us. And I think that, as you said, part of this is breaking through to people again, I think that they need to work on their messaging a little bit, like kind of crystallize it down and make it plain for common folks, so to speak, because we know they have good policies and things. But I also think that beyond that, of course, I feel like they do not have a wide enough distribution channel. And
Absolutely.
so this is what Tiff and I and the big three are trying to do. Like I said, I am just a little pawn here, but I believe in the power of the ripple effect. And as you can see, leader Jeffries speaking it into. But he came to speak to you guys because I feel like we already know that the legacy media is not doing us any favors. In fact, they hurt us a lot of times, and they help to keep kind of this polarization going. They feed off of bashing the Dems and finding differences. Like Martha Raddick drove me crazy interviewing your governor. Like that made me so angry how she went all in about this Bronze Star when you got troops in the streets illegally in DC. Okay, really. So it's up to us to provide good sources of information. I appreciate all the people who are out there doing the work, all the people who are listening and supporting us. So thank you guys so very much. We really, really do appreciate you. So, Tiff, I'm going to give you some last words to share until we come back again in 2 weeks. And we hope that you guys will join us because we know it's going to always be something with this man sitting
Drama,
in the
drama,
office.
drama central.
Yes,
No, I think,
yes.
yeah, my last words are get involved locally, being go you know go to mobilize. There is tons of things, events that are happening in your local area. Don't be afraid to go. You'll meet people who have like minds as you. You don't this is building community that isn't only on social media. Sometimes you got to go and do it in person, and I think that's an important thing for other. I never was involved. I mean, I didn't go to events, but I at one point I just said, you know what, I'm gonna go. And I have met so many wonderful people who are Democrats, people who are independents, people who just are sick and tired of where the trajectory of this country, and get involved. It's the only way. Bitching and complaining on social media is not going to change anything. Go get involved in your local area. And that's it. Have a great
All
weekend.
right. All right. Bye bye, folks. Absolutely. All right. Take care.
All right. Bye bye.